The eternal child has become a social phenomenon in our culture. People refusing to grow up, refusing to become adults. But there's also a personality quality that you can have based on your Enneagram that will determine your youthful quality. In this video, I will talk more about these aspects and also how you can differentiate between what is internal youthfulness and what is maladaptive behavior. Also, how it influences your dating attraction patterns. So keep watching. Alright, so the eternal child, there's different concepts out there. The one that recently really hit me on a personal level was Jung's concept of puer aeternus or puella aeterna. Puer aeternus. Puella aeterna is the female version. You might also know Peter Pan syndrome, right? That's very famous. Nowadays, how it often manifests is how people are stuck in their childhoods, how they have what is often considered to be a childish interest or a youthful interest. And puer aeternus doesn't mean that you are literally acting like a child. I'm not talking of the very extreme behaviors, but that you act younger, much younger than your age, and that you refuse to get to the next stage. That's the complex, you could say. Now, in terms of the types, I want to go more into the qualities that might give off this eternal child energy, but that it's actually based on personality and not just nurture or maladaptive behaviors. So the classic types that are known for this kind of attitude are 7, to some bit of a lesser extent 9 and 2. So these are the positive types in the Enneagram. 7 is probably the most stereotypically Peter Pan syndrome-esque. I also call the monkey mind. What is childlike about 7? So 7 is on some level the eternal explorer, adventurer, and also the one that keeps going after possibilities, right? At least on average levels. So 7 therefore has a youthful quality because when you become older, you get more settled in your ways, you don't explore as much, you become more inward focused. 7 is also a very extroverted energy. By the way, I'm not going to talk about Jungian aspects here. I'm going to like about 16 personality types aspects, cognitive functions. I will talk more about that in another video, but it's very much connected to this. But with 7, this wide-eyed curiosity, you could say, is actually something positive if you use it in a positive manner, right? And by the way, positive type mean that these types have a positive outlook, which at the negative level can mean that they are toxically positive, that they won't acknowledge any negative aspects, but that doesn't have to be the case in the higher functioning of this type. At the higher functioning, you are able to choose the right options, the right possibilities, keep exploring as well, but all within certain perimeters, certain standards, you could say. But you keep up this youthful outlook. I would also have to say that 7 has very much an escapist quality. Escapism, it can be negative, but it doesn't have to be in all cases. 9 also has a very much escapist quality, but for 9 it's a different motivation. With type 7, it's very much fear-based, right? So fear, 7 easily feels constricted, too tied down. They don't want to limit themselves. And therefore, there's this fear around that. So they want to escape that fear, and that's what the escapism does. With type 9, there's also an escapism, but the escapism goes more into escaping negative feelings. Both do that. I mean, all these positive types tend to escape negative feelings, but especially 9 also does it, and also escaping, to some extent, who they truly are. 9 is, I also call the peace seeker. So because they tend to abandon themselves in order to keep the peace. And that, you know, is obviously not positive for them, but it keeps up the positivity around them. The positive manifestation is 9 can also have a bit of this innocence to them to some extent, where they see the world in all its facets, but it's both neutral and both positive at the same time, where you can almost infuse peace into everything. So if you're at the higher level of 9, you are peace incarnate, basically. So you bring peace to the world in your behavior and your outlook and things like that. But it's actual peace. It's not this fake peace to appease other people. So yeah, that's the high side of 9. But yeah, this can also have a bit of this youthful quality, because peace and positivity by themselves, once again, as you become older, people often become more, how you say, like jaded, more negative. And 9 tends, if they're at the higher level, and not just toxic positivity, but they're actually high level, they can retain this peaceful outlook, and it can be really more inspiring, right? And more enriching, but it does have this childlike innocence to it. Type 2, a bit of a similar spiel. I also have to say, this also overlaps a lot with Jungian types, 16 types, but let's just focus on Enneagram here. Type 2 also has a positive outlook, also comes across as very positive. With type 2, I have to say, they tend to slip more into a parental role. I will talk more about the roles later. 2s tend to slip into that role a bit more, and they might treat other people like their children, like everyone is their child on some level, because 2s are these inherent givers. So 9 and 2 are often mistaken for one another. 9 is actually an introvert, 2 is an extrovert. So with 9, the main focus is always internal. How can I feel peace in the situation? How can I make myself feel comfortable? And it might extend to other people as well, but it always starts from this internal subjective viewpoint. With 2, it's always on the external first. So 2 looks, okay, how can I help people? How can I give them what they need? And yeah, it can create a child-parent dynamic. Overall, 2, because 2 is also positive outlook, overall positive outlook just makes you look more childlike, eternal childlike. A bit of a side note, type 4 can also have an escapist quality, because 4, they might escape themselves into their fantasy worlds as well, and their identity. And also an overemphasis on identity can also give you a little bit of a youthful quality, maybe more of a teenager quality, to be honest, because teenagers are the most concerned with their identity. So 4, I would put 4 in brackets. I also have to say, once again, it kind of overlaps a bit with 16 types, but 4 can also have it a little bit, but it's not as much as with these other 3 types. So the types that are the least gonna be like this on an inherent level in terms of outlook and just how they act and present themselves, the least are gonna be type 1 and type 8. Type 1 is usually very sober-minded. If you focus so much on being perfectionistic, being a judge, I call 1 the judge. They can be judgmental, I guess, but it's not so much about being judgmental. It's about following the rules, having rules, enforcing rules to some extent, living life justly or living life righteously is a very much type 1 being focus. 1 basically brings order into chaos. So this is also how 7 and 1 tend to oppose one another. 7 is chaos and 1 is order, and they kind of are complements in that way. 8, a bit of a similar spiel here. 8 can also impose quote-unquote order or structure, but it comes from a different place. So both of these are anger types, gut types in the Enneagram. So with 8, it's very much, also 8 is an extrovert. So 8 wants to assert themselves in the external world. The focus is on my external space, power, influence, dominance in the external world. And anything that doesn't fit that, doesn't submit to that, will anger them. Or yeah, there's just this position towards that, towards power. So this is really not childlike or innocent at all, right? So they also say oftentimes that 8 has a hidden innocence or an abandoned innocence in some sense. You could argue that, but that also once again shows that they are not having this exuberance, this childlike quality to them, in terms of personality at least. When it comes to the instincts, I've talked about this also in my SOSX videos. SOSX is probably the most stereotypically youthful, childlike stacking, you could say, because first of all, the self-preservation instinct is last, meaning they really don't value self-preservation matters that much, which are often associated with being an adult, right? Like finances, housing, food, taking care of yourself, taking care of other people in that sense. Once again, it doesn't mean that they never care about that or that it doesn't matter at all, but it's just at the bottom of their priority list inherently. So it gives them this, it removes them from the adult world in that way. Also, why I don't put SXSO here, even though they're also self-preservation last, you could maybe put them in brackets, but also SOSX, obviously they don't have the sexual instinct first, and the sexual instinct obviously makes you more quote-unquote mature too, right? So it's obviously, yeah, it can be sex related, right? Looking for that, but not just that. With the sexual instinct, it's not just about that, it's also about looking for a romantic partner or looking for how you can basically have a legacy in some way. Both social and sexual instincts can have this outlook on legacy, but it's a bit different. With the sexual instinct, it's way more of a personal thing, with their own DNA. It can be actual children, but it doesn't have to be children. But just the fact that there's this creative sexual energy and possibly being a parent in there makes this stacking less, right, childlike, right? The SO is actually really the most. Also social instinct, being focused on groups, being focused on what other people think, is also much more of a, yeah, younger outlook, you could say. So inherently, I would say inherently these types, and to a bit of a lesser extent these two as well, will have the most of a childlike, internal child, puer aeternus disposition, no matter what. So it's actually part of their personality, meaning it is not dysfunctional or wrong. But of course it can be too much or it can be unhealthy when they become unhealthy. And I should also, I guess, put here the opposite for this would be SPSX. Because SPSX is the opposite of SOSX. They have the opposite instincts first and they have opposite flows. I talk more about that also on my blog. You can check out my blog and also my other instinctual videos. So SPSX would technically be then the least quote-unquote youthful, childlike, etc., etc. Let me just go to this first. I think I need to explain this first. So what happens, there's these life stages. You can think of these life stages, right? I really love Erikson's developmental theory on this, by the way. I always think about this when I think about this problem. So first, like, let's say first you have, you know, like being a child, right? And then you can also, the next stage could be being a teenager. The next one could be an adolescent. Okay, I'm pretty sure you cannot read this, but I'm just trying to give some examples here. And then being a full adult, and etc. I guess at some point you're going to be at senior level, whatever you want to, however you want to define it. So it can be literally age related, right? So it can actually be ages like teens, 20s, 30s, etc. Sometimes, I mean, oftentimes it is age related. Sometimes it's also related to your biology. Other times it is related to other life stages, like let's say graduating, or basically all these big life events or life stages that on some level push you to mature or become older in some way, emotionally or mentally. And all these And whenever there's like a resistance at any stage, or something is not how you want it, something is not right for you, or you haven't fully embraced and went through the previous stage, you will get stuck somewhere and you won't want to get to the next stage. So even despite all this stuff, this is when it's more maladaptive, basically meaning when you're not really adapting to what should be the right thing to do, or like best for you developmentally. So either way, it can be this, it can be that. If you want to delve more into this, and if you want to work with me, make sure to check out my site, typefusion.com/services. I can type you there, and I can also help you in the coaching to become more aware of this and do your best to advance to the next stages. Roles and attraction. So usually if you are too much in this childlike disposition, then you either attract another child, right? That's natural, or you attract a parent. I don't mean literally, but please don't take me literally here. I mean mentally, right? Like if you're just too immature, I suppose. If you're actually mature, you're not going to be in that kind of situation, because an actually mature person looks for another mature person. So ironically, if you find yourself acting like a parent in your relationships, you yourself are still immature on some level. I have to say, once I said, like I said, type 2 tends to be in that pseudo-parental role very often, or it's like a common trap for them. 7 and 9 tend to be more in the child role. But either way, even if that's not really the problem here, also as OSX obviously tends to be often in the child role, and as PSX is often in the parental role, but not always. But even beyond that, also 1 and 8 often being in the parental role as well. Then the question is, how can we resolve this, right? Like, how can we get over this? I already mentioned you have to get to the high side of your Enneagram or your personality. You have to also, if you are like stuck on a developmental psychological level beyond personality, so if you're stuck when it comes like trauma, oftentimes when we had childhood trauma, we revert back to our childhood, right? So are there any traumas or unresolved emotional issues you have from the past? Then this is just therapy related. So then you have to go to therapy, or you have to use certain therapeutic techniques to overcome that trauma to be able to move on to the next stage. So it could be that, unfortunately, with society and culture, it can be hard to go against it. You will have to educate yourself on that level as well. When it comes to personality, really go to the high side, and also always try to fulfill your instincts. At the end of the day, I'm not going to say that having childlike hobbies or dispositions is a bad thing, right? So having this youthful quality, even forever, can be nice, but it should never interfere with fulfilling your instincts. At the end of the day, it always boils down to the instincts. So if you see yourself not developing, not going to the next stage, if you're too emotionally immature, it's going to harm your sexual and social instincts, because it's going to harm your relationships. Or escapism, just broadly escapism, or being in the parental role, etc., etc. Do these things hold you back from feeling fulfilled? Okay, I hope you have a good day and see you next video. Bye!